Welcome to Lighten Up, the art of living clutter-free, a podcast where we tackle the literal and figurative clutter standing between you and your healthiest and happiest life. I'm Melanie, your host, coach, and guide on this journey to help you design a life that you love. Whether it's clearing out your kitchen cabinets, untangling your digital files, or letting go of the mental blocks that hold you back, we're here to make space for what truly matters. Let's lighten up together. Starting now. Hello and welcome to Lighten Up, the art of living clutter-free, the podcast where we delve into life's transitions, challenges, and triumphs. I'm your host, Melanie, and today I'm marking a significant milestone, turning 55. This journey has been filled with unexpected realizations, mental clutter, and transformative experiences, especially surrounding perimenopause and menopause and embarking on new entrepreneurial ventures. So let's explore this path together. First, the middle-aged realization. So I remember it vividly. I remember a routine doctor's appointment when I was 47, 8 years ago. And my physician casually referred to me as middle-aged. I was really taken aback. And I actually said, middle-aged? Me? And he simply responded with a calculation. So for those of you who aren't as great at math like me, he said, well, how long do you think you'll live? 47 times 2 is 94. And that gave me pause because could I really live to 94? The thought was both amusing and enlightening. My mother's parents lived well into their 90s, so it seems quite natural to assume I'd live into my 90s, but I still didn't even realize at 47 that I was like halfway there. So that year, I decided to embrace a much more authentic version of myself. That was the year that I dyed my hair purple. And while I had been getting tattoos all since my young adulthood, this was the time where I decided not like little things around my wrist, but that's when I went like big with tattoos on my arms. And I really realized that these were expressions of myself that I had longed since my teen years. In my teen years, I was a gymnast, and there were back then lots of limitations in terms of what you could do with your hair. Could you wear makeup? Could your nails be done? Have paint on your nails? Like all of the things that we see now and should see in the world of gymnastics. What an impressive environment, if you will. So 47, it was my I don't give a damn what other people think moment. And it was really this very liberating declaration of self. So around that same time, maybe a year later, maybe I'm 48. So now I'm halfway to 96. And I was working for Weight Watchers at the time, and a member walked in and he took in my purple hair and my fresh tattoos and asked, is this a midlife crisis? And I laughed at him and I replied, maybe middle-aged, but definitely not a crisis. And I think that's so important because there's so much mental clutter associated with midlife crises. So the term midlife crisis often carries a negative connotation, which suggests a period of emotional turmoil and irrational choices. And the question is that really a crisis? Many experts now challenge this idea, which I think is amazing, and view midlife instead as an opportunity for growth and self-discovery. It's a time to reassess our priorities, to embrace long-held desires, and to redefine our purpose. So this period can also introduce significant mental clutter, that convergence of societal expectations, our personal aspirations, And then the realization of mortality can create a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. That seems quite natural when you hear that. So, this mental clutter can often manifest as overthinking our past decisions, constantly replaying our life choices in our heads and wondering about different outcomes. There's anxiety about the future, worrying about what's next and if it's too late to make changes. And there's a whole lot of self doubt, leaves us questioning our abilities and questioning our worth after decades of an established identity. So if you're relating to this, reach out to me on social media or through my website, because sharing our experiences can help declutter our minds and provide clarity during this very transformative phase. Like when we think of transformative phases, we often think of like teenhood and young adulthood. This is a transformative phase also, because we're not at the end. We still have years to live. And so this is that transformation into that other part of life. So I want to talk about menopause and brain fog and mental clutter, because the reality is that men also go through a transformative phase or midlife phase. But I want to talk specifically about women. So let's start with perimenopause. And this is the transition phase before menopause. And it typically starts between 40 and 44. For me, it was a little later. And it brings fluctuating hormones, irregular periods, hot flashes, night sweats. But what really hit me the hardest was the brain fog. Reflecting back, I realized that my menopause symptoms likely began before I was 47, but at the time I didn't connect the dots between brain fog and moodiness, and that was when I was experiencing the onset of perimenopause. It's a common oversight. Many women don't, and they don't associate these cognitive and emotional changes with the hormonal shifts. And so one of the most frustrating parts was how my mind, once sharp and once organized, felt like it had been replaced with mush. I'd forget names. I would lose my train of thought. I'd walk into a room and forget why I was there. And emotionally, it was another roller coaster. I mean, like, so here's the thing. I know other people are like, yeah, I'm at different ages of my life. I would forget names, lose my train of thought, or walk into a room and forget why I was there. Names is something I was always really good at. And that served me well in my career. But all of a sudden, like, I was forgetting names on a regular basis. So it's about like finding a way to be okay with not being great at everything that we do, especially when it's associated with our brain. So let's talk about mood swings. Okay. You know, irritability, sure. Anxiety creeping out of nowhere, yes. This mental clutter isn't just disruptive, it's disorienting. The constant haze can lead to decreased productivity, struggling to complete tasks that once came easily to us, and this can also lead to lower self-esteem. We end up feeling inadequate due to these cognitive lapses. Like, I felt like I was once smart and all of a sudden I'm not smart. And that's not the reality. This has nothing to do with intelligence. It has everything to do with how our hormones are affecting our brain. And for some people, it can lead to social withdrawal, that avoiding interactions for fear of embarrassment over this forgetfulness. I recently wrote a blog post where I candidly discussed my menopause journey. And I hope that by sharing our stories that we can break down the stigma and encourage open conversation. Men in particular need to be more aware and understanding of menopause. Their support can make a world of difference. And if you haven't read the blog yet, head over to my website and check it out. Let's keep the conversation going. So, leaving my job and the mental clutter of entrepreneurship came recently, I think. But the reality is, March 12th, 2020, the day before the world shut down, the day before I turned 50, I had a plan to celebrate big, but instead we all went into lockdown. And here's the thing. So many times over and over again, people would approach me and say, you should do this for yourself. You should go out and start your own business. And there was so much mental clutter associated with, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, and I don't have the experience as an entrepreneur. And that was a lot of mental clutter. So at 53, I decided to start my own business. Let's talk about the mental clutter that came with that. First of all, imposter syndrome, the feeling that I was a fraud despite my years of experience. Fear of failure, that voice in my head whispering, what if this doesn't work? The self-doubt, constantly wondering, really cut out for this. These thoughts can be paralyzing to anybody, which leads to procrastination, delaying actions due to fear of inadequacy. And if we're avoiding action, we're not advancing. And then there's that idea of over preparation, spending excessive time on minor details to avoid potential failure. I fell into that challenge. So it means that there's also an avoidance of opportunities. We shy away from challenges that can lead to growth. And these beliefs, for me, created this mental maze, cluttering my mind with doubts and fears. Overcoming them required intentional effort and strategies. So let's talk about how I cleared this mental clutter associated with starting my own business and associated with menopause. To navigate through this, I had to actively work on shifting my mindset. One was seeking support, talking to other entrepreneurs and mentors provided me with perspective and encouragement. I also needed to adopt a growth mindset, which I talk a lot about with respect to weight loss, but I wasn't thinking about with respect to my own business. So I began to reframe challenges as learning opportunities instead of failures. I set realistic goals, breaking big tasks down into smaller, more manageable steps, which made them feel much less overwhelming. So I have some final thoughts on turning 55. Reflecting on my journey, turning 55 isn't just a number. It is a testament to resilience, growth, and the courage to embrace change. The mental clutter of midlife, perimenopause, and entrepreneurship taught me one huge lesson. We don't have to be who we were yesterday. We get to reinvent ourselves at any age. And if you're navigating a similar transition, remember, age is not a barrier. It is an asset. Your experiences, your wisdom, your perspective are all valuable. So if there's something you've been wanting to do, start a business, a creative project, a new direction, whatever it is, go for it because you deserve it. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to Lighten Up, the Art of Living Clutter-Free for more conversations about midlife transitions, mental clutter, and reinvention. My website, thoughtfullycoaching.com, has information on my Design Your Healthy Life Strategy program. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. And until next time, stay curious, stay bold, and keep embracing life's adventure. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Lighten Up, the Art of Living Clutter-Free. I hope you found a spark of inspiration to help declutter not just your space, but your mind and life as well. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who could use a little lightness in their life. Remember, it's not about being perfect, it's about progress. Small steps lead to big changes, and I'm here to help you every step of the way. For more tips, resources, and ways to connect, Check out my website, follow me on social media, and don't forget to check out the Design Your Healthy Life Strategy program to take your transformation even further. Until next time, keep letting go of what no longer serves you and making room for what truly lights you up.